Hey guys, it's Logan Murphy again, and today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about methods and eventually going to use one of the methods that I made for you in your program for asking the user for input. So one of the cool things about the JDK is that they provide a lot of documentation, meaning that they told you about a lot of the stuff they did in order to help you program. And what I'm going to teach you today is to figure out what methods are going to be helpful to you. So one of the first things I'm going to teach you is commenting. I know I taught you the single line comment right here, but today I'm going to teach you the multi-line comment. So all you have to do for a multi-line comment is do a slash star, and then to end the comment, Eclipse will do it automatically for you, but this is how you end a comment, star slash. That's how you end a comment. And I'm going to just generally tell you the structure of a method. So method structure. So a method's general structure will be the access modifiers followed by the return type, followed by the name, followed by the params, and then a body and some code. Okay? So I'm going to use main as our example. Main is a method. This particular method, if I were to describe it, runs the program. It tells us we have a program to run, and it'll run that program. That'll just be my documentation per se. It's very simple. So what is the access modifiers for this method? It would be public static. Public static. What would be the return type of this? It would be void. Now, void just means nothing. Void means that you're going to do this whole method, and then when this method is done and you reach this closing of its body, it won't have anything to return to you. It has no obligations to whoever called this method. And you're going to see what kind of obligations methods can have and what they have to return. Next is the name, and the name of this method is main. Okay, so you see the name main. Next are the params, and the params is args, which is array. This will be talked about later. Just know this is the structure of, remember, declaring types. So type name. So we could have easily renamed this A. Doesn't matter, as long as this type is this. This will be recognized as the main program, and this is the program we want to run whenever we hit the run as button. As long as you see public static void main, this string box, any name can follow that. Okay? Anything can follow that. And it'll still recognize it as a runnable program. So, I am going to post a program under this video. I'm just going to copy paste it real quick. And what I want you to do is, not that one, this guy. What I'm asking you to do is not to read what's inside it, just to trust me that it does what it says it does. And what I want you to do is just to read the documentation. The documentation is, it prompts the user to type an integer value using the string s, and then returns that value to the caller. So if the name wasn't obvious enough, get an integer from the user, then this documentation is what's going to definitely solidify the definition of this method. So it's going to ask the user using string s for input. So let's go ahead here and we will do int n int d. Okay, and the way this method works, that I actually get rid of that int, d already exists, so I'm going to name it whatever. The way this method works is, in order to call a method, you have to say get the exact name, get an integer from the user, and it does exactly as it says it does. It gets an integer from the user, and in order to get that integer, it asks the user whatever you tell it to. So it expects you to pass in a string. And as you recall, to store strings, you have to use the quotes and anything in there. So we're going to tell the user to enter a numerator. Okay? So what that does is, it finds the method get an integer from the user, and it finds it here, and it takes this literal string value and it sets s equal to whatever I passed in, which in this case is enter a numerator. So when we say get an integer from the user, enter a numerator, we pass in this value to this memory cell, and then basically it'll say s equals enter a numerator. And then when it goes through this method, when s is used right here, which you know this command print s, it'll just print enter a numerator, very simply. And as it says, it prompts the user to enter an integer using the string s. It uses the string s, enter a numerator, to prompt the user to enter an integer. So now we have to look at this definition. Get an integer from the user. It says that it returns an int. So since it returns an int, we can store that int. This method is obligated to return an int value. So since it'll return an int, it will have whatever the user typed in. Let's say they typed in 5. That 5 will be floating right here, and since we put this n equals, instead of just floating around here, it'll be stored in n. And we also want to do the same thing for o. And every time we call this method, it'll get another number, a different number, from the user. And let's say they typed in 7 this time. So when this method is called, and let's say the person types in 7, the 7's just floating around, and then because we said o equals, that 7 gets attached to the 0, to the o. So now we want to, let's just print this in a formatted fashion. Let's print this the way that it would be printed, as though it were a fraction. So n slash o, because n is the numerator, o is the denominator. So when we print this out, print it on one line, get rid of these print lines, except for this one. So when we print this out, it should print enter a numerator, and then it'll get the numerator, let's say 5, enter a denominator, let's say it was 7, and it'll store it in o. And then since o and n have things stored in them, n will be, let's say 5, it'll print 5/7. Okay, so let's see if it works. run as Java application. So it says enter a numerator, and let's use the example I was saying, 5. Then it says enter a denominator, and I'll say 7. And now it says 5 sevens. And that's exactly what we wanted. Okay, well, what if we wanted to print this as a mixed number? Okay, so if someone were to type, let's say 10 and 7, 10 sevenths is an improper fraction, but we really wanted to print 10 sevenths as 1 and 2 fifths, right? No, that's way off. 7, 3, something like that. I don't know. So 1 and 3 sevenths is what we actually want to print, I think. So how do we do that is the question. And how we do that will be answered in the next video tutorial. So I'm Logan Murphy. See you next time. Peace.